the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. And it is pretty windy right now over here, so all the signs that I made they're not standing, so I'll just have to I'm by myself. There's nobody else with me over here. It's a Sunday late afternoon over here. As you can see, there's some bystanders and the cars are going in. I got delayed because I was working in the hospital and I had some emergencies regarding my patients I had to take care of, and I was supposed to be out of there by 3, but it ended up being 5. So but I'm starting to protest right now. It looks like everybody's really scared of Israel, and that's why nobody else showed up. It's just me over here. So I guess I'm the only one in Phoenix and in US who ever saw the sign, who is not scared of Israel or of defying the newly announced Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. I've spoken with all of you a lot about why I'm standing up. This is probably my second protest ever in my life. I'm not like someone who goes to protests. I'm a very busy person, as you guys know, being a physician and being a mom and being a blogger, but this was important, so I decided to do this because it is an act that is going to try to take the civil liberties of all human beings living in the US. And I've lived here for 20 years, and I know that there are some very good people over here that I've lived with who are very compassionate. And as you can see from the Families Together campaign that just technically was spread all over US, with the families coming out, people who have never protested like me coming out to help defend the right of little babies and infants to be with their moms. So I'm telling you, an average American citizen is very compassionate, very loving, very caring. And they probably don't even know that there is an act announced and signed by the US Congress that's going to take away their civil liberties, and that's going to basically just destroy their freedom and destroy their liberty and destroy their democracy. And so this is my humble attempt to try to do this. As you can see, I'm going to show you all the signs. Since I'm by myself, I have to hold everything myself. So I'm going to show you the signs that I made, and that I'm going to be, pulling up here and standing with each sign by myself, protesting. And I told a lot of my friends that even if I protest alone, I will do it. Why? Because it is important. Because hate is a 4-letter word. And the world knows nowadays more hate than love, because our politicians want it to learn hate and not love. The Palestinians are regarded as terrorists by Israel. But the last time I checked, they were dancing at the border on the beat of their traditional folk song, all while there was smoke and there was like so much of destruction in the background. They have no weapons. I don't have any weapons. This is a completely peaceful attempt to bring this to the attention of the US government that you cannot do this. Okay, so here's my first sign. It says, I'm gonna put this in front of you. It says, Gaza is the biggest concentration camp of the world, funded by American taxpayer dollars, violating human rights. Say no to children detention centers. So like that the Mexico border detention centers are not the only detention centers in the world. Gaza by itself is the biggest concentration camp of the world, and it is totally neglected, abandoned, even by the United Nations. That's why this has been going on for the last 70 years. The Palestinian genocide has been happening right under the nose of Americans with their American taxpayer money. With their democratic consent. Unfortunately, that has to stop, because the media over here is sponsored. It will not show what's happening in Gaza. It will not show the pictures of the war crimes of Israel that's happening in Gaza. The media will not show it. So we have to go use the social media, the electronic media, to be able to show it to everybody. So this is one of the things that I need to bring to the attention of the American people, that you guys are funding an apartheid, a genocide, and you were worried about the detention camp that happened at the Mexican border. But what about the detention camp? What about the concentration camp? What about the detention and the internment camp of the Gaza babies, the Gaza children, that is being fueled, funded, maintained, all by your government with your money, against your permission, against your notification? You don't even know what Israel is doing right under your nose. It is using phosphorus bombs. It is committing every heinous war crime possible documented in the history of war. It is doing this against the children, the infants in Gaza, all with your money, all with your paychecks. So this is something that the media, the mainstream media, is not going to tell you. And the electronic media has distracted you so much with irrelevant and with things that don't matter, that are not important, that it is next to impossible to be able to identify the real problems and the real issues that are affecting the global geopolitical infrastructure. And so it is very important for the Americans to realize that their money is being streamlined. Their tax-paid money, their hard-earned money is being streamlined into maintaining the biggest concentration camp, the biggest detention camp of the world right now present in Gaza. And the reason why I decided to do this protest today is because their government, the US government, has signed this act, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, according to which you cannot criticize Israel anymore. So here I am, I'm defying this act, and you can arrest me. I don't care. I don't give a damn. You can arrest me for my freedom of speech. You can arrest me for my political activism that is peaceful. You can arrest me for trying to do the right thing by bringing this to the notice of the world, that Gaza is now becoming almost extinct. The Gaza children are now becoming extinct. That place is going to be inhabitable. It is going to be unlivable because of the atrocities committed by Israel against Gaza. And the world may be scared of Israel, and Americans may be scared of Israel. My friends, my colleagues, those people who knew that this protest was happening today, they may be scared of Israel, but I'm not. Come and arrest me. I don't give a damn. I don't mind being arrested for such a noble cause, but I have the right to defy such a draconian act. This draconian act is going to end the civil liberties of Americans. It is going to enslave them. It is going to put them in jail, and eventually it is going to take their babies away from them, just like putting them in the detention center. As you know, Trump recently put so many children of the Latinos in the Mexican border in the detention centers. And Americans couldn't do anything about it. And even right now, in spite of them being out on the road, nothing has changed. So what does it tell you? That tells you that the freedom and the liberty of the Americans has already been snatched and taken from them. They're not the decision makers anymore. They never were. And here is my second notice board that I'm gonna make you look at. It's the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. It is a draconian law. So I'm gonna just stand here with this, as you can see. I'm gonna stand here with this board right here and talk about why it is draconian. Because it is taking away the civil liberties of the average American citizens. Because it is taking away what is rightfully theirs, their First Amendment right of free speech, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. So if Moses were alive, if Moses, peace be upon him, were alive, he would have been here with me right now. And I can feel it. I can feel that Moses, peace be upon him, is with me here. He wouldn't want Israel to commit such heinous atrocities, such heinous crimes against peaceful protesters in Palestine, in Gaza. Do you know that 2 kids died just yesterday? They were killed by the Israeli forces. Do you know that the Israeli children are being detained extrajudicially? And then their organs are being harvested illegally? And it's the American money that is paying for all of this, that is paying Israel to do all of this. Do you know all that? You probably don't, because you're too busy watching the Kardashians. You're too busy watching the celebrity gossip. But the reality is that your taxpayer money is being used to commit an infanticide. So this is my second sign. As you can see, I'm standing right here, right before the Phoenix City Hall, right outside the municipal part. I've never been here in this part of the Phoenix before. This is my first, and like I said, it's probably my second protest ever in my life. And then I made quite a few other cardboards too. So this one is saying that doing peaceful political activism against human rights violations of Israel is not anti-Semitism. It is every American's right of free speech. So here I am doing peaceful political activism before the Phoenix City Hall, and it is every American's basic human right. It is the, as I mentioned, it is the First Amendment right of civil liberty that is given constitutionally to every American. And to criticize Israel should not be penalized. It should not be equated to anti-Semitism, because if Moses were alive, if anybody could hear Moses today, Moses, peace be upon him, he would have stood up today to protect the civil rights of the Palestinians and to protect the civil rights of the Gaza children and the infants who are currently suffering miserably at the hands of the Israeli atrocities. So this is the second one that I'm holding right up here on, right here in front of the Phoenix City Hall. And I will be holding this for a while so that people can see. There are lots of cars who are passing by. And I made quite a few others too, and I will show you what others I have done. Unfortunately, I'm here by myself alone, and I guess I'm the only one who doesn't care about being arrested or who feels strongly about this. People are just too busy with their 9-to-5 chores, but it's okay. It has to start somewhere. One of my friends said that, Faria, you're by yourself. How will you make a difference? And I told them that even if I'm alone, if I'm just a person, all protests, all peaceful political activisms, all protests have to start. They all start with just one person. And as the time passes, more and more people join, and more people realize that this shouldn't have happened. This is not how things should have been done. If you look at the history of mankind, most of the protests that happened were started by just one person. Most of the awareness campaigns that were ever happened, that were started by just one person. So this is my made, and it says, Moses, peace be upon him, defends right of Gaza babies to criticize Israel on its war crimes. So I have it right here. As you can see, the cars, they stop by at the signals and they try to read whatever they can. I don't know if they're able to read, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Everything is being recorded. We're going to disseminate this protest. And if there are any cracks, if it's not like a typical protest, then just excuse me, because this is my second protest ever in my lifetime. And I realized, looking back at my history, and maybe I should have started these a little bit earlier when I was a student, when I was studying in medical school, because now I realize that maybe I could have made a difference and lessened the suffering of the Palestinians and the Gaza and made this world a more peaceful place. I could have, had I started earlier, maybe in the 20s, or when I was in my medical school, maybe I would have been able to achieve something really tangible, or would have made a bigger impact by now. But it's never too late. And before the world goes totally crazy and dark and uninhabitable for our children and future generations, there's always a first time for first-timers like us. So I strongly urge everyone, every human being who's compassionate, who loves children, who loves love, who hates hate, who hates darkness, who believes in coexistence, should come up and stand here wherever they can, whichever city they're in. They don't have to be in the US. They can be anywhere in the world. And just, do something peacefully. Protest, object, tell everybody that you're doing the wrong thing. Tell your governments that you're doing the wrong thing by taking side of the wrong people. Tell them that your money should be secured and not used and wasted and spent to kill babies of Gaza, to kill babies of Palestine. Tell them. And once you tell them, hopefully it will make a difference. I started my thing. I had to come and do it. I'm not very good at it, at protests, but I still had to make a point by coming here in front of the Phoenix City Hall and telling the world that everything matters, everything contributes. I've been blogging since 2013 about civil rights, about democracy, about justice, honesty, about a lot of things. And I have been a philanthropist. I've done a lot of projects to empower the underprivileged people of the world. I've done a lot of stuff in healthcare. But I had to come here and talk about this Anti-Semitism Awareness Act because it is totally misunderstood. And people don't even know, most of the Americans, they don't even know what is being thrown at them. They don't even know that their liberties are going to be paralyzed with this act, because on campuses, on college campuses, they will not be able to criticize Israel, because the moment they did, they will be fined, they will be penalized, they will be put in jails. And so something has to be done. You have to go out there, talk to your senators, talk to your congressmen, talk to your congresswomen, and tell them to revoke this act that goes against the basic civil liberties and the basic the First Amendment Bill of Rights of the American citizens. Americans should have the right to be able to speak up about the war crimes committed by Israel. Because once they are able to speak up about it, then they will try to do something about it. They will ask their government to stop fueling and funding Israel. And so that will really help when Israel stops getting its funding and fueling. And then the other thing is, at the international platform, we have seen in the United Nations, most of the resolutions that have been processed in United Nations Security Council and the General Assembly sessions against Israeli aggression, they have been vetoed by only one country, and that is the United States. Only one country vetoes the Israeli aggression, the resolutions against Israeli aggression. So if we can do a mass awareness campaign to tell the people of US that your government is not allowing an end to the human rights violations committed by Israel in Gaza and Palestine, if we can convince them, they will, if we can wake them up, if we can stir their conscience, because if their conscience can be stirred for the Latino babies who are currently in the detention center at the border, their conscience can also be stirred about the Gaza babies, because that is the biggest detention camp currently being funded, fueled, and held, maintained by the American taxpayers' money. So with this, these are the various boards that I made. And like I said, this is just a start, and I hope that people are not scared, people are not worried, and people are not afraid of being arrested, of being caught, of being persecuted here in the US, because this thing just started. They just started to process the paralysis of the civil liberties of Americans. And this is the time to act. This is the time to tell your government, to your senators, your congressmen, your congresswomen, that this is not acceptable. This is not the way it should be. Human rights activism, political activism that is peaceful, is not anti-Semitism. I love Moses, peace be upon him. I love Torah. And I love Judaism. I'm a Muslim, but I love Moses, peace be upon him. My faith is incomplete without my belief in Moses, peace be upon him. So if I want to talk about what Israel is doing to the Gaza children, what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, that should not be equated to me being anti-Semitism. By the way, technically, mathematically, anti-Semitism is not acceptable in Islam. So if you went by the book, and if you were to go by the rules and the regulations, and if you really knew Islam, you would know that hate for Moses, peace be upon him, hate for Jesus, peace be upon him, is not even acceptable. It is not even part of Islam. So those of you who have this belief that that criticizing Israel is equating it to being anti-Semitism, you have to re-educate yourself about Islam. Anti-Semitism is not even allowed in Islam. Just to clarify you. We are supposed to believe in Moses, peace be upon him. We are supposed to believe in Jesus, peace be upon him. We are supposed to believe in Bible, in Torah. That is part of our faith. We cannot be Muslims unless we believe in these prophets that were sent by God. We have the same God as the God of Christians, as the God of Jews. So why are you saying that if I'm sitting here talking about Israeli aggression, it means that I'm committing anti-Semitism? I'm not. I'm just trying to do peaceful political activism. I'm trying to bring this to the attention of the world that Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza with American taxpayers' money, and Americans don't know anything about it. And they need to know, because things are getting out of control. Because Gaza is going to be uninhabitable, unlivable by 2020. That's 2 years from now. Actually, 1.5 years from now. So that is 1.5 years from now, Gaza is going to be uninhabitable and unlivable. Why? Because you continue to fuel, fund, process your taxpayers' money, fueling Israeli aggression, fueling this infanticide, fueling this genocide, fueling the continuous persecution of the Palestinian babies, children, their babies, just like your babies, just like those Latino babies who are currently suffering in the detention camps erected by Trump. So what is your breaking point, Americans? What is going to make you guys wake up and stand up against oppression, stand up against tyranny, stand up against persecution? Because this world is getting darker and darker, thanks to your inaction, thanks to your silence, thanks to your continuous fueling of such oppression, such aggression, such persecution of little babies and children in Gaza. Thank you very much. I hope this was all very useful. And if you have any questions, you're most welcome to contact me and call me. You can inbox me. This is Dr. Fab again, Dr. Faria Bukhari. And this was my humble attempt to bring to light this Draconian Anti-Semitism Act that is going to take away the civil liberties of the American citizens. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.